Whew. Okay, I'm here in Stewart, which is an airport. I just kind of randomly picked an airport um, that I thought might have default textures, and it does. And this is Stewart Airport. And I wanted to briefly show ALES. This is going to be a short video before I log back off and start a flight, because I've been messing around with my sim all day long, and I'm just exasperated by it all. But this is ALES that you're looking at here. So ALES is a scenery enhancement package for X-Plane that covers the ground texture. So there's several packages out there similar to it. ALES is unique in that they have implemented something so that the runways, not the runways yet, but at least the ramps, anything that is a X-Plane, I can't remember the word he used, polygon or something like that, can show wet textures, and it's automatic. You don't have to like change textures or anything like that. So I'm ambivalent about this, but I do like the effect, and I would like to see this widely used, this kind of a thing widely used. But it depends on the airport. If an airport uses default X-Plane polygons, then when you install ALES on your system, then you will see where those polygons are. You'll see wet runways or ramps or whatever it is, whatever wet surface it is. So, for example, right here. Okay. So this will work in a lot of default airports, and like I said, I've never even been to Stewart before. I can't even say I was really aware of its existence, but it's one that I found where it did have those. So you can see, let's go forward here a little bit. Okay, so, pluses and minuses of this thing. Okay, so let's get down here real close to this texture. Okay, you can see, if you look down, that looks wet. Looks very wet, actually. Okay. And the concrete looks wet. And, so inside of an airplane, this looks pretty good. If you look closely, you can see that it's a bit repetitive. That one. They're just layered right on top of each other. I mean, look how that looks just wet. Let me back up here a little bit. I can do that. Yeah, I can do that, yeah. Yeah, that looks like it's got puddles of rain, stuff like that in it. So, it looks good, doesn't it? I can see a real kind of a future thing for this kind of stuff. And it looks even better if you're not exactly lined up with the texture. So here, the textures are repeating this way, going across this way. But since I'm going diagonally this way, it doesn't look so repetitive. Whereas up here, you can see that it's repeating. But that's okay. It's not that big of a deal. You can look, you can overlook that. I've seen a technique used in, I believe it was prepared in FSX, where you could take a texture and overlay it on top of a texture, so it's transparent, and make it longer, and they use it quite often for things like tire skid marks, because those can be lower resolution than this texture down here, which if you want it to be nice and super sharp, then you'd have this one, and then you'd have a transparent texture over the top of it that shows this stuff, right? And that may be what that is. That may be how he does that. So let's just look again real quick. I mean, I can see that if I was taxiing along, how wet that looks. Opens up a whole concept, the whole idea of tires hissing, when you're taxiing along. You probably wouldn't hear it much anyway, except unless you were outside the airplane. But yeah, I mean, look at that. So this has got real potential. This kind of thing, ALES or otherwise, it has real potential. Right now, ALES is the only game in town that I know that has it. Now, what about taxiways and runways? Go down. Okay, so now we're on the taxiway. So this airport uses something. Where did he post this? Hold on. Yeah, only X-plane polygons support this feature. That's what he says. So this is obviously not an X-plane polygon right here. So therefore, it doesn't work. It is a texture that they created, and it's a nice looking texture, right? That's a nice looking taxiway right there. And I've looked at how ALES, in all fairness, and that works at all airports. So the good news is that the ALES textures will make your airports, your default airports, look better. And this is their paint right here. Looks really good. They've got two versions. They've got a crisp brand new one, and this one's a little bit aged. Those are the two options that I have. So, but you won't get wet taxiways, not unless it's polygons. And I would hope that the developer, that if he does it in a diagonal kind of a way, like he did these, like this looks, so that it doesn't look repetitive off your nose. And the same with runways. Now, there may be some airports that use polygons on the runways, for example, concrete. I may try to load one. One default, if I have a default. But you can see this runway is dry. But wouldn't it be cool if it was wet? You could see puddles here and there when you're landing. Of course, that opens up the whole idea of splashes and stuff like that too, right? But animations in 3D modeling, at least in our sims, hasn't been so hot. And here they're wet again. So I at least appreciate this. And I certainly, and these are, I believe, the 4K textures. Which I had the 2K. I honestly couldn't tell much difference between the two. That looks really nice. Alright, I might try. There are some airports that have concrete runways, and I don't know which those are. I'll give one a try. Nice to know around Stewart, I'll say that. I'll give one. I'll try JFK. Could be completely off here. Okay, yeah. That looks convincing, very convincing. Yeah, I made it a bit stormy. That looks very convincing. Let's go outside. And I don't know where the runway is. I don't even know where I am on this ramp. This here, by the way, is, that's the airport enhancement package. I wanted to see what I could do to default airports to make them look more desirable to fly at. So there's the terminal. Let's go over to the runway. I doubt it's going to work, but we'll take a look. If there was a concrete runway here, then it might work. It doesn't look like it works. Okay, even this is not apparently a polygon. So the ramps, yes, the taxiways. Oh, what is this runway up here? But you get the feeling that it's actually raining and it's wet, you know, when you look at this. So I could imagine this airport being redone, you know, with default textures created by ALES, you know, just reverting back to the X-plane ones, so that the ALES textures can be used. But wouldn't that be nice? It's very impressive. It is. You know, there's some limitations to the package, but you know, even with this, at least you would see, you know, you can see how repetitive that is, but at least you would see that, you know, over to your side, you know, so you're landing, and out the side of your windows you would see wet textures. So it's very impressive. It's good to see this in X-plane. It's rather remarkable. I didn't expect it. But, you know, wow. Could be a real game changer. My hat's off to ALES for making it. Hopefully we will see developers move in this direction. And, you know, that would be significant, I think. So, you know, but I'm not going to give it a number. It's so wow in terms of being able to see wet runways, but disappointing that it doesn't work in a lot of airports that you probably fly to yet. So, but that's, you know, it's a step in the right direction, and it's a big step too. You know, so if you do want to fly to an airport that has wet runways, you know, find one, then any airport would probably be enticing to land at, which is, again, the point of putting these packages on, is to get more out of these kinds of airports. This is the default JFK, by the way. Doesn't look too bad. Okay, that's all for this one.